He only wanted to buy dinner for his little girl. Just a quick stop at the store after work. Nothing unusual, nothing wrong. But the moment he walked in, eyes turned cold. Whispers started, and then came the accusation, loud, public, and devastating. Within minutes, his dignity, his safety, and his future were all on the line. No one asked for the truth. No one cared who he really was. What happened next would reveal just how far some people will go when they think no one will stand up for him. Marcus Johnson wasn't a troublemaker. He was a quiet man who worked long hours at a warehouse on the edge of town, saving every dollar to build a better life for his daughter, Amara. Every evening, he followed the same routine clock out, pick her up from daycare, stop by the grocery store, and head home to their small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. That night, the store lights glowed against the dark sky, and Amara hummed a tune from her favorite cartoon as he lifted her into the shopping cart. She giggled when he made silly faces, and for a moment, the world felt safe. Marcus grabbed a few essentials: milk, bread, cereal, just another night in an ordinary life. But then he noticed something subtle at first. A woman's eyes following him down the aisle. A whisper between two cashiers. The feeling of being watched crawled across his skin. Familiar, yet always unexpected. He told himself not to overthink it. He just wanted to get home. What Marcus didn't know was that this ordinary grocery, run something he'd done countless times before, was about to turn into the longest, most humiliating night of his life. Marcus tried to shake it off, that crawling feeling on the back of his neck. He focused on Amara, who was reaching for a box of cereal with cartoon characters on it. Her laughter was light, innocent. It was enough to calm him for a moment. But when he looked up, the same woman was still watching. She pretended to check her phone, but her eyes never left him. At the end of the aisle, a man in a manager's badge whispered something into his walkie-talkie. Marcus caught the movement in the reflection of the freezer door. His chest tightened. He'd seen this before too many times. The looks, the whispers, the quiet assumption that he didn't belong. He pushed the cart toward the checkout, trying to stay calm. Amara was getting restless, tugging at his sleeve, asking for candy. He smiled weakly and promised her a treat, but as he reached the counter, two security guards stepped in front of the register. "Sir," one said, voice firm, "we need to check your bags." Marcus frowned, confused. "I haven't even paid yet." The guard didn't blink. "We got a report of suspicious activity." People nearby started to stare. Someone pulled out a phone. The air grew heavier, every second stretching longer than the last. Amara's smile faded as she clung to her father's arm. Marcus tried to explain that he lived just down the street, that he came here every week, that he was just buying groceries. But the more he talked, the more their expressions hardened. It wasn't about facts anymore. It was about how they saw him. Then, the store manager appeared, the same man who had whispered into the radio. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "We've had theft issues before. We can't take chances." Marcus's hands trembled as he lifted Amara from the cart. "You can check whatever you need. Just please don't scare my daughter." But it was too late. The little girl's eyes were wide, confused, searching the faces of strangers for kindness and finding none. Someone in the crowd muttered, "Just cooperate," as if he hadn't been doing exactly that. When the guards opened his backpack and found nothing but his lunchbox and a worn wallet, the silence in the aisle was deafening. For a split second, Marcus thought it was over, that maybe they would apologize. They didn't. The manager just sighed, muttered something about protocol, and waved them off. The guards stepped back, and the crowd began to disperse. Some still recording, some pretending not to look. Marcus stood there, frozen. His heart pounded in his ears. Amara buried her face in his chest, whispering, "Daddy." "Can we go home?" He nodded, but his voice wouldn't come. As they walked out, he felt every eye on his back, the silent judgment, the unspoken relief that it hadn't been them. What Marcus didn't realize was that one of those videos would soon spread far beyond that store, and the world was about to see everything they had tried to ignore. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same scene, the stairs, the phones, his daughter's frightened face. He told himself it would fade, that tomorrow would be normal again. But by morning, the world had already seen what happened. The video was everywhere. On social media, on news feeds, on talk shows. The title was cruelly simple: "Man accused of stealing in front of his daughter." Within hours, thousands of comments poured in, some furious, some mocking, most indifferent. Strangers debated his character like he wasn't even human. His job called, saying they needed to review the situation. Friends stopped answering. Even neighbors looked away when he passed. But one thing hit harder than all of it, Amara asking, "Daddy, did you do something bad?" He couldn't find the words. By evening, protesters began to gather outside the store. Reporters stood by the entrance. The same manager who humiliated him now refused to comment, hiding behind corporate statements and lawyers. Marcus didn't want fame. He didn't want revenge. He just wanted someone to say, "I'm sorry." Instead, he watched as the narrative twisted again, the crowd turning, the headlines spinning, everyone using his pain to prove their point. He was no longer a father or a man, he was a symbol, trapped in the storm of a story he never asked for. Late that night, as he tucked Amara into bed, he heard the faint chant of voices from the street below. Justice for Marcus. It should have felt empowering, but all he felt was exhaustion, because justice wasn't a headline. It wasn't a trend. It was supposed to be a promise. And for Marcus, that promise had already been broken. Still, as he looked down at his daughter's sleeping face, one thought echoed louder than the rest. If the world finally sees the truth, will they actually change it? The days that followed blurred together. Reporters moved on to the next headline. The protests faded. The store issued a quiet apology that most people never saw. But for Marcus, nothing went back to normal. He still went to work. He still took Amara to daycare. But something inside him had changed, a quiet heaviness in every step, a constant awareness that eyes could turn cold at any moment. He avoided the grocery store, choosing smaller shops where people actually looked him in the eye. One evening, as he tucked Amara in, she asked, "Daddy, are people still mad at you?" He smiled softly, though his heart ached. "No, baby. They just don't understand yet." That night, he sat alone by the window, scrolling through messages. Buried between the noise were notes from strangers, people who had seen the video and recognized themselves in it. Parents, workers, young men who had been followed, questioned, doubted, shamed. They all said the same thing. This happens to us too. For the first time, Marcus realized his story wasn't just his. It was part of something bigger, a cycle too familiar, too easily forgotten. The video had done more than expose him. It had exposed the truth that many live with every day. Maybe, he thought, that was the beginning of something. Maybe change starts not with headlines or outrage, but with people finally seeing what they've tried so long to ignore. Because this wasn't just about a man in a grocery store. It was about every moment someone is judged before being known. Every child who learns fear before understanding why. And as the screen fades to black, one question remains. How many more stories like Marcus's will it take before we stop watching and start changing?